Welcome to the video, everybody. This is part 2 of Mal Monday, episode 1, so if you haven't seen that video yet, you should check that out first using the link in the description. I know this video is a little bit longer than the last one, but it's more of a podcast-style video instead of a hard-edited video. So let me know what you think of both of these styles. For those of you who are new here, though, in this series, my Twitch chat and I basically rated several different anime together, and we just had to start with what I consider to be great starter anime. If you want to be a part of the next stream, head on over to my Twitch, which is also in the description. We also had a special guest to help me talk about the first show. So, welcome on in, Applesauce, to the channel. Applesauce says, you've been here for Smash. Was there anything else that you were here for? You stopped by chat enough to, you say hi in chat enough.
Yeah, I say hi. I mostly just lurk, say hi.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about a couple of shows so far. We talked about Ranking of Kings. We talked about Dr. Stone.
I noticed everybody has a hot take on Dr. Stone.
Apparently. Wait.
It's a good anime. It's
It
not on my
is.
top 20, but it's good. I encourage people to watch it.
How is it not in top 20? There's
I mean,
no way.
It's good. I will say this. It's a good show. It's just, I have to be in the right mood to watch it.
That's fair. That's fair. I just enjoy it. I think it's just so crazy how absurd they are. Everybody has a superpower, and it's just great.
Yeah, no one's useless, which I appreciate, but
Exactly.
that's okay. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's okay.
True. That's where I'm at. I'm settled with a 7. I think a 7 is fine. Personally, I said it was a 9, but apparently that's just me.
I would rank it like about a 6.8, almost 7. It's almost a 7.
Oh.
It's almost a 7.
Have you seen Ranking of Kings?
No, I have not. The first time I've heard of it, actually. So
Really?
I might go and check it out.
That one is really good. That's a must watch. We came to the conclusion of that one being a 9.
Okay. I will have to definitely check it out.
So we're here because I basically have asked a bunch of different people what kind of shows did they like to watch. Like what show has kind of emotionally impacted them a lot, or maybe just like the story if they've read the manga. Because I think you've read the manga for this show, right?
Yes.
So again, we're not just anime only stuff, but
Yep.
we're gonna be talking about, if I can get this ready, it's time to talk about Demon Slayer. We're gonna talk a little bit about Demon Slayer. Chat did say they did guess this one as one of the starter animes that I was like, when I asked them, what do you think it would be?
Which I'm surprised. I wouldn't classify Demon Slayer as a starter anime. I would think it's more like I wouldn't. I would say it's more like, okay, like layer 1 is starter. Okay, this would be like layer 2, layer 3 anime.
Really?
Like, okay, cool. Here you go. Like, that's just my personal opinion.
Interesting. Wait, so why do you think that?
Just because of the gore, because a lot of people
Okay, that's
aren't
fair.
used to gore. There are actually a lot of bloody scenes in Demon Slayer.
This is
Plus,
true.
like, the topics can get kind of heavy at some point, depending on which section that you are in and whatnot. So, yeah, again, I would not recommend this as a first time. Like, this is your first time watching anime? Here you go. No, I
Yeah.
would not recommend Demon Slayer.
So for me, because I was also talking about this with some other people, I know people who recommend Attack on Titan, and I think that one is just too gory, and I think this one is just a step down from that. I don't think this is as gory as like Attack on Titan or JJK. So like, while those ones are good, I think this one fits it just a little bit at least. But I mean, like, yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because so Sarabi says it was her starter anime and it got her hooked. But yeah, I think it's a good enough story and like it's an easy, simple premise to kind of get into, or that's why I think it's kind of like a good starter one. But that just might be me. What does everybody say in chat? Oh, Howard says, let's go. Finally one that they like. Oh man, it's not the one that you recommend to a newbie. Yeah, Demon Slayer's super good. It depends on who you're talking to. Yeah, I think so too. Some people like bloody and gory stuff. But yeah, so let's see. So what I have here is I have like a whole list of things. So what do you think are the best characters? Apple.
Tanjiro is my definite number 1. Nezuko is probably my second favorite. Classic, I know.
Yeah,
Shinobu
Nezuko's
is being
great.
my third. Shinobu is definitely my third favorite.
Okay, okay.
They're solid characters. To be fair, there's not a lot of characters I hate in this anime. There's not a lot.
I would agree with that. I think they're all
Um,
pretty solid.
Yeah, when it comes to like the main cast, it's like, okay, yeah, you're a jerk, but then like something happens and you redeem yourself. It's like, okay, you redeemed yourself. Now the demon characters, obviously, like, sorry, I'm gonna hate on y'all. Like, y'all are the villains, y'all are the problem. Yeah, except
True.
one, but that's spoilers. I'm not gonna talk about that. So
Curious.
I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it.
There's some really good ones. They do their best to try to redeem the demons.
In a way,
when
yeah.
they do it. And sometimes it's like, okay, they're kind of redeemed, but sometimes it's just like, nah, it's not worth it.
Still, like, once the anime catches up to the manga, you're gonna see more of that, and you're gonna be like, you're gonna realize that ultimately all the demons are basically the same. They're not really like. Ultimately, they wanted power. That's what they wanted. They wanted power that they couldn't get in real, like when they were alive.
Yep.
And because of that power, they got corrupted, right? There's only one demon that didn't really fit that criteria.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious because I think this show is really good, and like I know people say it fell off. I don't really think it has. I think it's been pretty solid this whole way through.
Oh yeah. Nah, like you got your annoying characters like Zenitsu. Everybody hated Zenitsu at the beginning. Like, let's be honest here. Everybody hated Zenitsu. I hated Zenitsu, right?
Yeah.
He is in my top 10.
Yeah.
Top 10 characters of the entire show because like once you go through his like background, he does get redeemable and you're like, oh, that explains a lot about him in general.
Yeah, I would agree. They do a lot of stuff with the annoying characters to kind of make them not necessarily likable. I mean, they're pretty likable anyways, but they definitely do a lot of explaining stuff. And I'm curious about some other characters who they haven't really talked about yet.
Yeah, they're gonna, don't worry, they'll cover all the backgrounds for all the characters.
Oh, that's
just
good.
as a heads up. So you have stuff to look forward to. Just the plot in general and the characters in general, very well thought out, great storytelling, great plot writing, just everything in general.
Yeah. Personally, I think my favorite characters so far have been Nezuko. I really like Tengen.
Yeah.
I think Tengen was really, really well done. Tanjiro is fantastic. Rengoku, I think, is so
Rengoku
good.
Rengoku. Ooh, everybody felt that one when he
classic thing.
Classic right there. Yeah.
But I think he's the Hashira that I think has been done the best so far, and I'm really excited to see the other ones too. I also think who's the Mist Hashira?
He's alright.
I like what they did with him in the anime.
Yeah. Like, when you first meet him, he's a jerk, right? But then once you figured out, like, his backstory, it's like, okay, that's understandable of why he's reacting the way he is.
Yeah. Muichiro. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Muichiro. I almost put Muichiro in here because I think they just do a really good job of, like, his growth specifically. And then I love Inosuke. I think Inosuke is just, like...
Inosuke is just the like comic relief type, but oh man, wait till you find out about his backstory.
It's so excited. I'm so excited because like it's so funny because like even as like the annoying, he's supposed to be like in that thing of like he's just a loud kind of like annoying character, but he's not annoying. I think he's just like so dumb and in his own world that like they do a really good job of like making him likable. It's just so nice.
It all goes back to his backstory. They're gonna talk more about it later, like once the anime catches up to the manga. But like, there's a reason why the characters act the way they do.
Oh, that's so nice.
And that's for all of them. It's not just like Inosuke, Zenitsu. It's like for all of them. Which, again, fantastic story overall. Demon Slayer is in my top 10 anime favorite of all time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We have some love for Gyutaro, which I believe is one of the demons. He's one of the ones in Entertainment District.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Him. I don't know about him. Him and his sister, man.
Yeah.
Like, I felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
and his sister because of like their circumstances, but like how they went about things. It's like, all right, nah, y'all sit your butts back down, man.
Yeah.
Y'all talking too loud over there.
True. True.
But
Also,
the fight though,
yes.
top 10. Top
really
10.
good. We'll
So
talk a little
good.
about the animation too, I'm sure. But what'd you have for opening? I'm very curious as to what you had for your openings, like your ranking for them.
Oh jeez. Season 1 opening, top favorite of all of them.
Oh, okay. All right. You like Garenge? All right.
Yeah, I have to. It's that's
It's
a classic.
It's a classic
That's great.
for sure.
Number 2 has to be season 3 opening. The Swordsmith in the Swordsmith
yep.
Village opening.
Yep.
That one's probably my second favorite.
Really good.
Mugen Train's opening is my third favorite.
Really?
Yep.
You don't like Zankyo?
No, that one's my next favorite
Really?
though. That one's my next favorite though.
I mean, they're all really good. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're all like very good on their own.
Oh yeah. You know, but no,
Personally-
yeah, no, just
personally- Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
just overall, like, I don't know, that fourth one is just, I don't know, it seems kind of different from all the others.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the other three kind of match. It's like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then this was kind of like left field a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Personally, I think the one that I didn't like, the one I liked the least, is the Mugen Train opening.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like it fits with what it is. I need to watch the movie specifically and not just the season because I watched the season. And I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what happened with like the opening. The opening for me was just not that memorable. I think maybe for the movie, if it has like an opening song, I feel like that might be more memorable. But the season specifically, I just don't remember.
I watched the movie when it came out in theaters.
Yes.
And
That was before I'd gotten into anime when it came out.
They
so
played
I just,
the
I didn't know.
they played the opening in the theaters. That's why it's like, ooh, this is a good opening. It's a banger. Not gonna lie.
Okay. I need to watch the movie too, to just like see if it's a banger. Because like I listened to it, I was like, it's alright.
Basically, if you've seen the Mugen Train season, you've seen the movie. It's just the movie is just
Yes.
consistent, no breaks, no nothing, and it flows together a lot smoother.
That's what I was told. That's why I want to watch the movie specifically because I've seen the season and I was told you should watch the season because I think it was just coming out. So Mugen Train opening was probably my least favorite, and then my second least favorite is Garenge.
I can't believe you. What? That's a classic right there.
It's
That's
really,
like
it's
the
really
definition of an anime opening. What?
Here's the thing, they're all great. I will say, like, of course they're fantastic. Garenge is a little overplayed for me. I listened to it so much. It was my roommate's favorite song from there. So like I listened to it so many times that just like eventually, I've heard it so many times that like I got a little bored.
Okay, fair enough. I can get it being overplayed. A lot of
I
people
wouldn't
like
say
that
it's
opening.
bad. I wouldn't say it's bad at all. It's really, really good. Especially the animation. It's so good.
Yes.
So good.
Animation in this anime is just out of this world, but that's a different conversation. Back to the music.
Back to the music. I liked Zankyo the second best. I know it's not necessarily fitting, but I really liked the song, and like for someone like the Sound Hashira, I think it works the best. For the Sound Hashira being the main Hashira for that season,
Yeah.
I think that song just really fits what's going on.
It does. It fits this whole season entirely by itself. It fits the theme. It fits like the mission itself that what they're doing in, at the entertainment district. It fits it. It's just personally, just overall, the overall big picture, it seems like it's coming out of that field, at least from my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. But then I adore the Swordsmith Village opening. I love that. I love Millet. Millet's one of the artists that I really, really enjoy listening. Like every time I hear a Millet song, I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. And then of course, Man with a Mission is also really good. So it's just you put both of them together, and it's just magic. It's just really good.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
All right, so let's see. So people are saying that this is a 7 to 8. Yeah, so let's talk about endings now. What are your favorite endings?
Oh, geez. I put Shirogane, the Mugen Train ending, as my favorite.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
I actually like the ending for season 1 from The Edge.
Oh, yep, I do too.
That's my second favorite. Asagakura. That season 2 not season 2, Entertainment District ending.
Yes. Yep.
That one's my third favorite, and then the ending for Swordsmith Village. That's my least favorite.
Yeah, I had flipped the Entertainment District and the Swordsmith Village. I had those ones flipped, and then I had the first season or the Mugen Train in the first season flipped as well.
Okay.
So generally in the same sort of ones. I will say in this case, the endings are still really good. I just don't necessarily remember them as much as I do the openings.
Same. I actually had to go look them up because I was like, wait, I don't
too.
remember these. So I looked them up. I was like, oh, okay, it's these. Well, I like this one more.
Yeah. I will say that when I first was watching Demon Slayer, I didn't watch the endings necessarily either, because I have made it a rule for myself to watch it every single time now, watch all the openings and endings, because I just think they're really good. Especially endings are kind of underrated.
I usually have a rule, doesn't matter what anime, you have to watch the opening and the ending at least once. After that, you can skip it, or depending on how much you like it. And every time the opening changes, you have to watch it again, or every time the ending changes, you have to watch it. Yeah. You just have to.
That's what I like to do too, because it's you can skip it, but also why would you want to skip Garenge?
Exactly, it's so good. It's so good.
Why would you want to skip Kizuna no Kiseki?
Why would you do that? There's not that many openings I would skip, but Garenge, I let that play the entire time. The first opening and the second opening for Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh yeah.
I let those play. Jujutsu Kaisen for the win.
This is the opinion of a man who gave Dr. Stone a 9. Okay, Dr. Stone is good. It's good.
It's a good show. But again, it depends on your taste. It really does.
Nah. I forgot to mention this during Dr. Stone. I tried to get my dad into some anime. He did not like Demon Slayer. He did not like AOT. He loves Dr. Stone.
I would say Dr. Stone is for more I don't want to call them nerds, but people who are more into actual factual stuff.
We said it was for nerds.
Okay, well then it's for nerds. But still, if you personally like watching science, historic, Discovery Channel or things like that, Dr. Stone is for you.
Yeah.
You like it.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, Demon Slayer sub or dub? Have you seen it in sub or?
I've seen it in both. I
Which
prefer sub.
I agree.
I prefer sub, not because the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast are pretty okay. It's just the guy that did Tanjiro's voice in the English dub. I can't stand him.
Yeah.
I can't stand his voice. A large part of it. To be fair, I think that was his first time landing a major role in voice acting, so he was still trying to get the grasp of it. You could tell the first season he was struggling with it, and that first half of Mugen Train he was struggling with it.
Interesting.
Second half he finally adapted to it, and he finally took Tanjiro as his own.
The shows that I have on here that I have in dub are all pretty good. I don't think there's very many bad performances. Tanjiro's was not bad, but it definitely was almost nervous.
Yeah, you could tell he still hadn't grasped Tanjiro as his own, right? Because most voice acting is harder than normal acting.
Yes.
You have to put yourself into the character's shoes and think okay, this is how the character would react, but you have to mentally picture yourself in their position without acting on it, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very hard, very, very challenging. I think this was his first big role. I'm not dissing him. He did his best. Cool. Kudos to you, man, for landing this role. However, you're a season and a half late, in my opinion, for finally grasping Tanjiro.
Yeah.
You know, better luck next time for your next role. Like, I'll still
Right.
give it to you, still good props. I'm sure you're a phenomenal voice actor. It's very hard. You know, I will
Mhm.
not take that job lightly, but no, subbed is, in this case, is the winner. Sub just hit on a different level. In my opinion, they got more of the characters' personalities more accurate.
Mhm.
Like with Zenitsu, with Shinobu, and like the rest of them. It's not just Tanjiro. Like the sub just slaps.
Yeah.
That all the characters hit perfectly.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. By the way, for everyone who wants to watch Demon Slayer who hasn't watched it yet, I believe it's on Netflix, Hulu, Crunchyroll, and Funimation. And I believe where I heard about it was just from friends. Apple, where did you hear about Demon Slayer?
My roommate, actually, she's the one that got me. I got her into anime in general,
Mhm.
right? She got me into Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I was watching anime and she was visiting, like she came over to hang out with me at my place. She's like, "Hey, I have this new anime I think you like." I was like, "Okay, sure. I trust
Mhm.
your opinion because we have similar tastes. Put it on." We binge watched the entire first season of Demon Slayer
Mhm.
like that
Mhm.
day. By the time like we got through the end of season 1, I was practically clawing the TV like, "Give me more."
Please. Yeah.
So that's when I picked up the manga and I just read it all. Like
Yeah. Because
I
it's
got caught
done.
up on all of it. Yeah, it's
The
done.
manga's done. Yeah.
Yeah, manga's been done for a while. I caught up on the manga like within 2 days after finishing season 1.
Mhm.
So like y'all are in for a treat. It's gonna be good.
Oh, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really good. Because like I thought that the first season starts off a little slow, but it definitely picks up halfway through. And then
Oh
once it
yeah,
picks up, it goes.
most anime start off slow. Just from all the anime that I've seen, they
Mhm.
start off slow. That's why I usually give it between 1 to 10 episodes, depending on what genre it is. Like Fairy Tale, I give it
Yeah,
10 episodes. If it's
true.
like something like Psychopaths, I give it 3 episodes, 3 to 5,
Mhm.
for instance, right?
Yeah.
But like with Demon Slayer, was immediately hooked by episode 3. It's just like, okay, cool. By
Yeah.
episode 4 or 5, the pace had finally picked up. It's like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
We on this, we good. We're on a perfectly paced story right here.
True. All right. Chat has voted, and they voted it as an 8.5.
Yes.
I think it's an 8.5 out of 10, which is interesting.
Good.
Very interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the story. So I have a little synopsis tab. We're kind of in the spoiler-free section of stuff, so we're gonna try to keep it out of spoilers. So when it comes to Demon Slayer, basically when it comes to the synopsis of it, I want to talk about episode 1, but I don't want to talk too much about it. If you want to correct me on the synopsis here, feel free. But basically, there's a world where demons will prey on humans as I don't know, it's like their main food source, I guess. And our main character, Tanjiro, is basically on a quest to turn his sister back into a human after she is transformed into a demon. And I don't want to say too much more than that for anyone who hasn't seen the show until we get to the spoiler section. But would you think that's kind of what the show's about?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Demons didn't entirely exist at the beginning. They just kind of like appeared out of nowhere.
True.
In a way.
Yeah.
And they know who started it. They've never seen them before, right? To the normal average human, most of the time you're not going to run into a demon. Then
Right.
a few cases, unfortunately, you might run into it. Well, you're probably already dead, so sorry. Life's tough, right?
True.
Tanjiro kind of got sucked into that. Like, he was a normal human, and unfortunately circumstances put it to where he ran into one.
Yeah.
And that's started off with the whole, Demon Slayer series right there.
I would say it's a very simple story, but it's done very well. So it's easy to kind of pick up things as they kind of go on. Nothing too, crazy things will happen, but it's not like anything that is too hard to understand when you're going through it. I would definitely rewatch this. I'm sure that you would rewatch this too. This is
I've
just
seen
my little
it
thing.
3 or 4 times by now, just because me just trying to get other people to watch it, like other friends. Mugen Train, I've only seen like twice. So like all the other seasons I've only seen like once, but I would be more than happy just to go back and just binge watch it all again.
Yeah.
I would be happy to.
Yeah, I think I'm on my second watch. It's something, it sounds like you would recommend it to people as well, because I would also recommend it, because I think it's just easy to get invested in.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. It would not be a starter anime, but for sure, like if someone's like looking for something like, hey, do you have something like a little more story, gore related? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. Here you go. This is perfect.
yeah, exactly. I think it's a good enough show to kind of hold things on its own too. I think it can hold its merits. And yeah, personally, I think you could, but I could also see people getting a little like, okay, maybe it's a little too boring for me to get into. But I definitely recommend at some point for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And could this be someone's favorite anime? I absolutely think that it could be. I don't know. Is it your favorite? What is your favorite one?
Psychopaths still has to be in my top one, just because of
Psychopaths.
just because of how good that anime is.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Um, I do love me Fruits Basket
Okay.
and Oran High Host Club. Yes, I'm one of those, but those are classics and those are
Hey,
very good.
Ouran High School Host Club's pretty good.
It's a great series.
Going into it, I was like, I'm gonna make fun of this thing. This thing's not gonna be very good. There's no way that I'm gonna like this thing.
Oh, for sure.
I ate my words. I ate my words there. I think it was
It's
pretty good.
exactly. It's good, right?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
Demon Slayer though is in my top favorite anime of all time. Like it definitely is in my top 10, but like if I had to pick my all-time favorites depending on how I'm feeling, whenever I go back and what kind of mood I'm in, it's definitely in my top 5 all time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So let's do a little more discussion. I don't know. We've probably discussed a lot of the spoiler-free stuff. And yeah, if you want to talk spoilers, this is the time to do it. We'll give it like 5 seconds for people to mute or look away or whatever. Apple, what was the moment that kind of made you be like, this is a show that I really like?
Honestly, that's happened multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times throughout the series, which I appreciate and I love. I think like the first time though was when Tanjiro was fighting against Giyu, when Giyu was trying to kill Nezuko off, like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Main characters are normally not my go-to favorites at all. I normally don't like the main characters just because of like how naive they are half the time.
Sure.
But like when Tanjiro was, racing up against Giyu, screaming at him, trying to pretend like he's got something behind his back when he actually had like nothing. And it threw even Giyu off. I was like, oh, this kid's actually smart. He's not naive. I wonder what his full potential would be. And
I mean, he's still kind of naive, but
a
it's
little
not
bit,
like,
yeah.
But it's because he's literally like he had no idea about any of this beforehand.
Yeah, and that's the difference though. Like there's a difference between like physically not knowing, like you can't know what you don't know, right? But then there's also like, oh, I bet you he's still good inside, and when he's clearly an evil murderer and monster that needs to be put down, right? Like there's a difference there.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference there. And Tanjiro's just like, he's the naive type, like, I don't know what I don't know, but once he knows, he can figure it out and go from there.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I love him. It's like, hey, you're an actual main character that's like, that seems more realistic than all the other main characters that I've come across.
Yeah.
You actually take what you know, you learn from it, and you move on.
Exactly. And he really learns. He does learn.
That and like the way he loves his family. Like you have to understand, like Tanjiro lost his entire family and his sister got turned into a demon. The poor kid is 14, 15.
Yeah, and it happens overnight too. It's not like it's just like a thing that slowly happens. Literally, it is an episode 1 thing of, he literally goes out and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna sleep here for now. Like I can't, like it took me too much time to get the wood to the village. I'm just gonna come back. I'll sleep, at this guy's house, and then when he comes back, everyone's just gone.
Yeah, like in the training arc, it's like when he was training like for the water breathing stuff, that took 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yep.
So technically he lost his family when he was 12. He's about 15, 13 ish around that time. He's 15 when he actually sets out on the actual Demon Slayer like quest, right? But like when all that stuff went down, he was 12, 13 years old. And this poor kid hasn't had a chance to grieve. He hasn't had a chance to like fully process his family is gone.
Yeah.
And yet he still mans up like the courage. He still bucks up. Like he does whatever it takes to, that drive and that determination to save his sister. It's like, you poor kid, you just need a hug. But like that drive and
True.
that determination is like this.
Mhm.
This is a kid I want to root for. Like I
Yeah.
will stand up, I will cheer for you all until like my voice is hoarse. Like you deserve everything.
Yeah, and I think it definitely works well even with like when Nezuko like loses herself sometimes because
Yes.
of her demon stuff. She still is brought back because of Tanjiro usually because it's just of his candidness.
Oh yeah.
And like I think it definitely like shows because like even as a demon she loves him enough to be able to break out of that. She has the thing where it was like was it hypnosis? I guess it was kind of hypnosis. But like
Kinda,
also,
yeah.
at the same time, it's like how much of that is really affecting it versus truly she is able to just overcome that. See, so Chat says they don't remember how far the anime is now, but it's freaking gorgeous. Akaza versus Rengoku really solidified it for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, that's pretty good.
Ah, God. Akaza and Goku, man. Like that
So
fight.
good.
Whew, it was so good.
Set your
so
heart
good.
ablaze.
Yep. No, just the artwork. The artwork was like a mixture of I had to look it up, right? Because when it comes to art, I am terrible, right? I
Sure.
make stick figures look terrible. Right?
True.
So I had to look it up. Like I think part of the reason why it's so popular is because of the watercolor animation. That's what they're incorporating into all this, and along with CGI and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's like everybody, for the most part, loves watercolors because they look so pretty and they pop out so much. Mix that with CGI, bang, you got Demon Slayer, and it looks so beautiful. It's one of the best anime that I have seen with some of the best graphics, like hands down, so good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like when they have a hype moment, you know it's a hype moment. They put every bit of animation budget into. Sorry, not even that because the rest of the show still looks great. But they put so much budget into just those things, and it works. It pays off every time.
Like with Tanjiro fighting against the spider demon.
Yep.
Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
That's probably where it really sold me. Was that fight? Because like,
that fight was gorgeous.
I was watching through stuff, and I was like, all right, this is pretty good. But I think that was the moment where I was like, yes, this is the show. This is like a really, really good show.
There hasn't been a lot of anime where I'm like on the edge of my seat most of the time, just because of how many I've seen.
True.
Kind of just been, or what's the word I'm looking for? Just like used to it, right?
Yeah.
There's only been a couple of anime where like I'm on the edge of my seat and like, what was it? The fight with Tengen, Tanjiro, and then the fighting against the older brother.
Yeah.
I was jumping up and down, like screaming at the TV, like, get him.
True.
Like, I already knew what was going to happen, but just the hype for it. It was such a banger. And then the ending for Swordsmith Village, I got that same feeling again. Edge of your seat, you're jumping out of your seat, screaming at the TV, just get him.
Yeah.
So good.
People were really like, I don't know what the hate for Swordsmith Village was about. I guess it was kind of because like the demons I don't think were as compelling as the other demons that had happened beforehand. So like
a lot of people don't like that one because they seem kind of like it's kind of a left field type thing, which it kind of is because the whole point of it is Tanjiro just getting a better sword because at this point that's after the entertainment district he's already broken 2 swords, which is already unheard of.
True.
It's already unheard of. Not to mention he keeps getting a black blade, which is considered unlucky because most of the demon slayers that have black swords, they end up dead.
Right.
So that's why he went there. It's like, I need a better sword because something obviously is not working. I need something that can handle what I can do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that literally is the entire point of the Swordsmith Village arc.
Yep. Which I think is fine. Maybe it slows down the pace a little bit, but like I never thought that it was. I remember that like I remember seeing people talking about it and being like, yeah, this was awful. Like this season is just not good. Demon Slayer has fallen off. I didn't get that vibe. And I think that last episode really proves it. That last episode was so beautiful. It was so good. It was so touching and emotional. And I think it definitely fits super well with what Demon Slayer is going for, even though like this arc was mainly just for Tanjiro getting a sword. There were other things that still happened besides that. It's coming out in March. Might be coming back
somewhere around there, and for sure I'm already marking my calendars.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna be watching it hands down every week.
Oh yeah, I think it's coming out in theaters, which is
Yes.
always so fun. That's what they've been doing every single time. And like, I didn't go to the Mugen Train one when it came out in theaters, but I definitely went to the Swordsmith Village when it came out in theaters, and that was so hype. That was so fun.
I didn't know that it came out in theaters for Swordsman Village. I did not know that. I did not know that.
So they did a thing where they watched the last 2 episodes of Entertainment District, and then they showed the first episode of Swordsmith Village in theaters.
Okay.
And that was so good.
They might do the same thing again then for this next season.
Which I would be so down. I think the other thing with Demon Slayer is that like with like Rengoku dying, there's like nobody is necessarily safe, that's always nice to know, is when you have a show that like literally everybody could be in danger of getting knocked out. It makes every time that they go into a fight that much more compelling, because you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, like are they gonna be able to make it out of this? Like, what's gonna happen?
But overall, like I said, it's still a good story, and everybody has their role. And
this is true.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, part of the reason why I just think Demon Slayer is such a big hit is because, you see good versus evil, and you see like good like vanquishing evil, and justice is actually being served right there on the platter.
Let's see. So people are saying that the latter stuff will actually be better in anime than in the manga.
Yeah, because the manga artwork wise wasn't that great, if that makes sense. Like, I had to reread it a few times in order to process what really happened.
Yeah.
And by then I was already chucking my phone halfway across the room, like, what do you mean this just happened? So I can't wait to see it in crystal clear, but I also know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So let me get my box of tissues ready.
Yeah. I'm worried too, because like the end of last season with all of the Nezuko stuff where they kind of do the fake out of her dying, that nearly got me. I don't know what's gonna be happening with later parts, but I have a feeling it's gonna get. And also, by the way, Chad, so like, not that I'm like a Giga Chad and like I don't cry at anything. It's like, I mean, I just in general I'm not very emotional. But anime is usually the one thing where like it can kind of elicit emotion out of me, or like some JRPGs and stuff. So like, when I say like a show makes me cry or like makes me like very emotional, that is usually like an indicator of like this is a really, really good show. And, like they really are able to do a lot with what they have. I guess I am a geek. That's a fair.
It's okay. It's okay. I cry over anime too.
I mean,
like I said, it's good,
true.
but it's gonna kick you in the feels.
I have to come back and rank this at some point later, I'm sure. Because like, I'm gonna be doing these over and over again, like at some point too, and like when shows have new seasons and stuff, I'll kind of do updates as time goes on. So I'll definitely have to do that for sure.
Oh, for sure. And for me, since I finished the series, I've read the manga and all this, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna put your vote in here as well.
I would give it a solid 9 out of 10, just from the manga and everything else like that. Now, if you really want me to critique, I would then drop it to an 8.5.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about real quick about it? Is there anything that we left out? Oh, we forgot to talk about music. The music is
insane.
It's always fitting for whatever scene that you're in. The way that like the singing is incorporated into it is like, it's always mesmerizing. Like the songs are kind of like eerie in a way that it causes tension whenever you hear them. And so all like the old Japanese instruments and all those kinds of different things, it's always fitting for like the setting and like what's going on. So I think the music is also extremely well done.
I just love how historical accurate it is because, that time
True.
period in 15th, 16th century Japan,
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite time periods of history in Japan I love to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's historically accurate, I love it.
Yeah. And
It
that's,
just makes
yeah,
it that much more real.
true. I think it all just works really well. I think the whole show blends together pretty nicely. You've given this show a 9.
Yep,
Chat has
a
given
9.
this an 8.5. I have given this an 8. I gave this show an 8. I think when I was rewatching it, the first couple of episodes were a little slow. I think, like, while in general they do a good job of, like, the pacing, now that I've kind of, like, seen everything and kind of know what's going to happen, sometimes I don't even want to, like, go back and see, like, the old parts.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have, like, some of the more prevalent demons approaching.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, like, every time it always slows the pace a little bit too much. There's always something that, like, it kind of, I don't know, the pace is just a little too slow for me. But in general, I think it's still a fantastic show, and I think it works really, really well. Let's
All
see,
I'm gonna say is towards the end, or if you decide to pick up the manga, you're gonna eat that 8.
That's the thing, and I'm absolutely up to it. Again, this is an as of right now, I am at an 8, and I am totally willing to be like, I was wrong. This is not an 8. Although here's the
Fair
thing,
enough.
you say it could be good, but it could also be bad. We could get we could promise Neverland.
Oh no, there's no way. There's no way.
Oh no. Apple, thank you so much for stopping by and
Yeah.
doing all these things. I appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoyed your time here. This is always fun. Just chatting about
Yeah.
anime with people.
It's fun.
It's always great.
I can't wait for y'all to like know what I know because it's torture not being able to tell anybody except other people that I know that have read the manga series.
Yeah. I feel like that's just like a general thing. I have a friend who reads all the manga for every show, and it's like I don't want to do that. I want to watch it anime because that's just how I got into things.
I can't wait for other people to see it or pick up and read it. If you do, just let me know. That way I can actually be like, I know, right? With you.
True. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, is there any sort of like shout out you want to give to anybody? I don't know if you want to shout out your own stuff or if you want to shout out anyone else. Feel free.
I don't stream, but I am a mod for Mito Kage. Give him a follow. He's a great dude. He's also into anime. He makes anime references all the time whenever he streams, from Naruto to Bleach to whatever, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, whatever pops in his head that fits at the moment. Great dude, fun.
The last part of his name is Kage as well.
Exactly. So I mean, like, if you're a fan of Naruto, go give this man a follow, right? You're gonna love his opening and his outro.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, just regardless of if you like it or not, you'll like the opening and outro.
Yeah, no, just in general, if you like memes, if you're here for Toonami times, which if you're an older anime fan, if you remember Toonami, go give Mito Kage a follow.
Based on what we have for rating, the ones that y'all rated. Y'all said it was an 8.5. I said it was an 8. Apple said it was a 9. So that means the average of all that would be 8.5. So we'll go with a rating of 8.5, which means on Mal, I will have that as a 9. The next show that we have going on is a little show by the name of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Chat, what do we think of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? I mean, what we got? S tier, classic right here, absolute top 10 of all time. A+++, S, def not a starter. What? This one's also really good. Everyone's putting it with the 5s. I think it's definitely worth a starter. But as y'all are doing that, I'm going to talk about my stuff. The best characters in the show. We'll talk about it later, but I think Mustang is a fantastic character. I think Mustang is one of the most well-written characters. You're not really sure what's going on with him, but by the end of the story, I think there's just so much character development that he's got going on that it's just so interesting. Bradley is also one of those things. Bradley is such a great top figure in there. Sort of like his authority is very interesting. He seems like such a great guy. There's a lot of different things going on that I just think works really well. Izumi is, I think, an underrated character. Izumi Curtis, who I believe shows up kind of halfway through. She's awesome. I think she has a lot of like great character development, even if she doesn't have like too much screen time. I think she shines with a lot of the stuff that she has. Hughes is also just really fantastic. Everybody loves Hughes. Everyone who knows Hughes just thinks that he's just a great character. And then my favorite character is blocked off for now, because I don't want to say who it is quite yet, because I think they're kind of a spoiler. So I was just saying, I'll leave that out for now. We'll kind of do that. When it comes to openings, I think that the order is pretty... Some of them are kind of interchangeable, but in general, there is a list that I definitely like. I think 4 is probably the worst one. I was not a huge fan of it. I mean, I think all of them are pretty good. All the openings are pretty good. 4 kind of sticks out to me as like one of the worst ones, but that's also just me. That's just kind of how it is. I think that 2 is pretty good. 2 grew on me. The problem is it comes after 1, and 1 is just so good. So every single time that you like have like a great opening, the next one that follows it is always just kind of like meh, usually. So 2 coming after 1 is usually like a hard thing to sell, but I would say that 2 is probably slightly worse than 5. I think 5 is also pretty good for like a last opening. I think it does a fantastic job of kind of setting the scene. 1 is just a fantastic opening in general, but it's not quite my favorite because I really love 3. The song in 3 is like one of my favorite songs of all time. That's just kind of where I'm at on that specifically. From what I know, this is still very much like following the manga, and it's still really good. I think it's really, really well done. And you guys think it's also really well done because you voted it for a 9 or a 10. For endings don't particularly stand out to me necessarily in this show, but I think there's really 2 that do. Personally, I did not like 2 at all, nor did I really remember 4. Both of those were just kind of like, again, I don't know. The even ones didn't really stand out to me too much. The endings, or the other one that kind of stuck out to me as like kind of meh was 3. The only reason that 3 is above the other ones is because May does a little dance during it with like the little panda, and it's just adorable. That's literally the only reason that it's above the other ones, because it just didn't particularly stick out to me. But 5 is a really, really great ending, especially for like what the show has going on. Very great visuals, very great song that kind of go with it. So I think it's really good. And then I think the first one is a banger. The first one is extremely good. I love the art style for it. I love the song that plays with it. Where can you watch it? You can watch this thing on Netflix, on Hulu, and on Crunchyroll/Funimation. And where did I hear about this? Mostly from friends. My friends. This is always the one that I hear of, like, when I heard about getting into anime, or I started getting into it, this is kind of the one that people were talking about to get into. So I think it kind of fits. I think it's sort of a fitting thing. But yeah, so you guys have rated this thing as a 10. So the synopsis about the show. This one's a little more on the nose. This one's maybe a little bit after episode 1, just because episode 1 does not really talk about the full extent of the show in general. But after the brothers, who are Edward and Alphonse Elric, after they try to bring back their deceased mother, they end up losing part of their bodies, and they're on a quest to kind of get those bodies back. A lot of different mysteries that kind of unravel from searching about how to get their bodies back, and it's got a whole bunch of different things that they are able to talk about just from this story. Would I rewatch? I think I would, especially with friends. There was a time when, like, I got a little bored with the series. I don't know why, but I definitely, it like slowed down for me for a little bit, and I was not hugely like into it for a bit. But when I rewatched it, or like I was watching one of my friends watch it, like it was so much more fun to just kind of banter about the show with him. So I think it's definitely like a really great like show to watch, especially if you have a friend who's never watched any anime before. This might be a first one to kind of guide them through, or just kind of make jokes with. Because it's just a pretty good one in general. Would I recommend it? I usually, it's one of the first ones that I do recommend, because I think it's just a good starter anime. There's not any huge amount of fan service. There's a little bit of gore, but it's not anything crazy. The story is so good. The characters are all so compelling. There's a lot of just interweaving things that you kind of figure out as like time goes on, and it kind of answers all the questions that it asks. And so I think it's one of those ones where it's like an easy kind of recommendation to have. Could this be somebody's favorite? If you look at Mount, well, I guess not right now. If you look at my anime list right now, it's not number one. Which, by the way, it has Frieren as number one, which I kind of agree. Frieren is really good. If you haven't seen Frieren, spoilers for when I talk about Frieren, I guess. But yeah, it's most people's favorites. So I'm not surprised that it's you know, it could be somebody's favorite. It's usually one in talks to be people's favorites. But yeah, so let's do some sort of discussion. So art style is really, really good. It's a nice. It's not chibi, but it has some chibi elements into it, which are usually pretty good. I think each of the characters has a purpose in the story, which is always nice. It's always nice when the characters are actually important, because sometimes they have a hard time doing that. Sometimes these shows have a harder time making characters important, and I think every one of the ones in this show are important. Some more important than others, but in general, I would say, you know, everyone has their purpose, which is always good. The music is always good. It's always fitting. They try to make the music tense when tense things are happening. They try to make things actiony when actiony things are happening. When things are more somber, they really make things fit. And it's songs you've probably heard before from like maybe YouTube videos or just like edits of things. But in general, I do think that this show does things super well. In general, this show is really, really good with all of its characters and all of its world building, and kind of step by step showing you kind of how everything has worked, as well as having villains who are actually kind of like menacing in their own right, and they're able to kind of be threatening when they need to be, which is good. That's what you need in villains. That's kind of what you want. And so there's a lot of different things that are good there, I think. So if y'all haven't seen the show, I'll give you guys a second to mute if you are interested in watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, or if you are, you know, you just don't want to be spoiled in general. This is kind of your last warning. I think the story in this show is really, really good. I think it's just like a solid story because they really make characters go through a lot of turmoil and a lot of questions that they really need in that moment. So they have like a whole arc with Alphonse, where Alphonse is like, am I a real person? Am I really Alphonse? And Armstrong he's like, do I need to be in the army? Like, I've done some things that are unforgivable with this whole war that I was a part of beforehand. Do I deserve what I have? Do I deserve to like work with this army, or do I need to do something different? Everyone has their own story that they really focus on and take the time to focus on, which is always nice. I think it's really good. There's a lot of philosophical stuff for sure. Exactly, yeah. And it's talked about in a way where it's not like making fun of them necessarily, but like it's definitely like it is making sure that the story is getting across and that people they're facing their problems head on in a way that feels right. I think the story is really, really well done. The character that was kind of blacked out beforehand that I didn't want to like talk about in the beginning part is Hohenheim. I think Hohenheim is the best example of all of this. He carries the guilt of all of the people that he murdered. He did it. He made a philosopher's stone. He did that whole thing where it's like the whole process of alchemy is to make the philosopher's stone. You have to use real people for that. You have to kill so many people, and Hohenheim did that, and he lives with that guilt and that burden, and that is something that like he has to figure out on his journey, and that even includes leaving his sons because he doesn't know what is right, and he doesn't know if he can trust himself to work with them. Love in a World can have realistic moral conflicts within the context of magic elements. Exactly. And like the thing is, it's like the alchemy is important in this story, but it's not like the main focus. Like alchemy is more used as a vehicle for getting story from place to place. So like the thing is, it's like, yes, the Philosopher's Stone is important, but that's not like the whole thing. The whole point is you're trying to get Edward and Alphonse to learn the truth. You know, the truth within the truth, or whatever it is. So alchemy is just sort of like what they choose as a magic system to explain their story. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a really, really great way of doing it, because it's an interesting magic system. Everything kind of works the same. All of that stuff is really good, and it's just a great kind of medium for it. My problem is sometimes they take a little too long to focus on some story elements, and it can slow the pace down tremendously in a way that's just kind of meh. Like, I think the Fort Briggs scenario is a little too long for me. And I think that, like, while that part in Fort Briggs is important, it slows it down in a way that, like, it's not that it makes it unwatchable, but it definitely, like, makes it less, I don't know, less digestible, I guess. And I know that when I got there by myself, it took me a while to just kind of move past and, like, get through that arc. I liked it at first, and then I just kind of got like, eh. But I think the villains are all really good. I think they do a really, really good job with a lot of these things. And so I do think that this show is really good in general. I think it does a lot with what it's given. And I'm very curious to watch the original Fullmetal Alchemist, because I know it goes kind of crazy. And I'm super curious to see what they do with that, because what they have here is really, really good. But I'm interested in seeing it go kind of crazy in a different way with regular Fullmetal Alchemist. The original is, phew, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. I will say it's also kind of, with this show, it's hard because they don't necessarily tell you about how alchemy works. I don't know if that makes sense. I know they do an original FMA, but in Brotherhood, they don't really explain it too much, because they kind of expect you to have seen the first Fullmetal Alchemist. And that was also kind of a thing where it's like, I want to know a little bit more about it and make sure I understand what's going on. Because I think, if I recall, what I heard afterwards from, like, watching, like, analyses of FMAB is that the reason that they do this is because they make themselves into the transmutation circle when they do this. So, like, their arms are the transmutation circle, and they're able to just make it from that. I could be completely wrong about that, but that is what I was told, and I was like, huh, that's kind of an interesting thing. I wish they kind of explained that a little bit, because they explain how they got the alchemy powers, but they don't really do much more than that. I wish it was a little better explained so I can kind of understand it, just because it's a magic system that I think works really well, but I wish I knew a little bit more about that so I knew that it was kind of consistent. The description of the manga is definitely the best resource. They have it in a few sections, but I bet you can find a lot more. Yeah, but again, I wish they told us about that in the show, because, like, regular alchemy they kind of explain, and they do that pretty well. It's just the specific with, like, our main characters and their specific alchemy, they didn't necessarily explain it super well. But so there's a lot of things that I think are good. I think the show is overall pretty good, and they do a lot of things right. And I think that, like, it is a solid show that, like, I see when people say, like, yeah, I love this show, I can understand it. I absolutely understand it. It's just, like, it's a show that's just kind of going to be timeless, I think. Like, anyone could watch it at any time, and they'll be able to, like, understand things super well. And I think that's just really great. It's a mark of a good show. I don't hate it. I think it's great. I will say, though, y'all are not going to like my rating. This is more on the subjective side of things, of why it is rated here. But I'm giving it an 8. I think an 8 is still really good. I think 8 is extremely solid. I don't think it's bad. I think an 8's good. Again, this is more so a the higher end that it goes is, like, the more that I would rewatch it, or the more I would recommend it, or the more, like, it was memorable to me. There's things that I don't necessarily remember about the show, and I wish, like, I knew more. Like, I feel like it was, there's a lot of memorable bits, but it's long enough for me to kind of forget a lot of those memorable bits. But I still think it's a fantastic show. I think an 8 kind of fits. Your ratings of a 10 are also pretty good. Like, I'm not mad about that. I think that's a fine a fine choice. So that brings our average to a 9. How could I give Nina an 8? You know why I could? Daddy's hurt. I do not hate the 10 here. I think this show is still a little overrated because I think I've seen shows that do it just like a little bit better. They do everything a little bit better, but this show is still just really, really solid. I think people are more nostalgic for this than like anything specifically. So like it's still a great show, but there are still points that it just kind of brings everything down just like a tad bit for me. It's again, it's on the scale of, do I want to rewatch this? Do I want to recommend this? Do I remember a lot of the things? It's not necessarily like I think this show is a masterpiece, I'm going to do sort of stuff, because there's shows that like I personally love, but I don't think other people would. AKA with Dr. Stone, apparently. I thought Dr. Stone was going to be more popular. I can't believe y'all gave it a 5.5. I think that's criminal. I think that's criminally low. We have one more here. We're going to try to go through this a little quicker. So for our next one, chat, and our last one of the night, we have Death Note. Chad, what do we think of Death Note? As y'all do that, I'll talk a little bit more about the show. When I think of best characters, it's kind of hard. I mean, like, there are only 2 characters that, like, everybody remembers. There's only 2 that I think are, like, extremely great. There's 2 that are just kind of meh. The best characters list is going to be more for, like, characters that I think are good. I want to try to keep it to a minimum, like a, you know, 2 to 3 sort of thing. Maybe a 1 if I can. But it's one of those things where I try to limit as much. But with these more popular ones, there's a lot more characters that, like, I can be like, yeah, this is a great character. But so Matsuda, which is, I believe, Light's dad, who is Soichiro, it's his little partner, I guess. Soichiro, I think, is also just a fantastically done character in a lot of ways. Light and L are basically like the top of the top, but I think L is the one who kind of takes it for me. I love L. I think he's a fantastic character. I think he's so good. There's so much that's written about him that's so good, and like when you like think about a lot of the things that happen, it's just there's so much. I can't wait to talk about it with like the spoiler stuff, because I think it's really good, but at the same time, I would also say it's got its flaws. It does have its flaws. The memes are better than the series. I'm surprised how low you guys are rating it. First half of the series wasn't bad. This is true. I'm going to talk about that. Don't you worry. For the openings, I'm going to be honest. I don't particularly care for either of them. I will say I like 2 more than 1, because the amount of times I go, "What up, people? What up, people? What up, people? What up, people?" to my friends is just more fun for me. So I like to put it up there, but like honestly, it's kind of equal. Same thing with like the endings for me. I don't really have too much to talk about those. Okay, so we're in a 5 to 6 range. All right, the second poll is up. To get a more specific rating on things. But yeah, I will say that like this show it's not as clean in sometimes as it should be. But yeah, the endings and the openings, I don't particularly care. They're a lot more like death metal, which is kind of like, it's not my style necessarily, so that's kind of where everything is at for me. So it's great, but not quite what I'm looking for with things. They're fine. They're not anything that I would like say is like amazing. Sub or dub? I've only seen the dub, but the dub is good enough for me to be like, yeah, I don't need to see anything else. I like the dub a lot. I think the dub is really, really good. I think they do a great job with it. All the characters are very fitting. Where can you watch it? I believe you can watch it on Netflix and Hulu. I could be wrong about Hulu, but I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. And where did I hear about it? So I basically heard about this from friends. This is one of those shows that like you kind of hear it everywhere. It's a very popular show in general. You're gonna hear it from a lot of people. So that looks like it's gonna be a 5.5. All right, so the synopsis of this show is that there is Light, who's this guy on the left here. If you see this, it's this guy. He is a gifted student who finds this book that can kill anyone whose name that he writes into it. But after he's a little too careless, he finds himself in a cat and mouse chase with the world's greatest detective. So this happens a little bit more than I think episode 1, but I think it's enough of a synopsis to kind of make things sort of interesting. So would I rewatch the show? I think I would, but really only up to a certain point. So as Kit Santh kind of said, there is a bit of a point at which I would not really want to watch it more. I liked it. I think it's great, but there's some problems. There's definitely some problems. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, but again, really only to a certain point. I think this show does a great job with its premise of this whole cat and mouse chase between these two characters, that like it can carry itself super well, and I think that's great. I think that's the hallmark of a great show. So I think it's good. It's something I absolutely would recommend, but just kind of caution people as well. Could this be somebody's favorite? I know the people whose favorite show this is, which is it's pretty good, but there's still some problems with it for sure, as you guys say. And so let's do some little discussion. So yeah, like I say, the premise is extremely well done. I think like they have this premise that's kind of set, and they do a lot with it. They make it so that, you know, they show off how smart these two characters are and just how great their relationship is. How they're able to manipulate each other, and like Light has one goal, L has another goal, and whoever achieves their goal first is going to be the ultimate winner. This whole premise is, how are they going to one-up each other? And as they do one-up each other, how are they going to do it again? Because they just keep doing it. They go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. When you think one character has the other one, it's you find out that no, that's not the case. That was kind of like a trap that they set. You can understand why someone would absolutely love this, but it's in spite of a few things. And I think that's the general sentiment with this show. If y'all are planning to see or watch Death Note in any way, shape, or form, y'all have about 5 seconds before I drop the biggest spoiler from this entire show. Yeah, if you haven't muted yet, I would mute in about, I'll give you 3, 2, 1. We gotta talk about L's death. The show should have ended at L's death. Like, plain and simple. I think that, like, L and Light are so synonymous with each other. They're so tied to each other, and, like, their relationship kind of changes. And once L starts to actually, like, have a little bit of doubt in his mind and wants to be friends with Light and, like, actually kind of trusts him, like, a tiny bit. It's literally, like, a 0.0000001% more trust, because it's actually, like, he's giving him a challenge. Light is finally giving him a challenge, and, like, he's trying to figure it out, and he's like, he actually kind of wants to be friends. The second he does that, he loses, because he gave up. He missed one sort of thing, and I think, like, doing that is fantastic. Light never gives up on his goal, but L does. And once that happens, man, they just needed to end the show. I understand that they needed to keep this going because it was the way that they had intended the story to go, I guess, but man, it would have been so much more impactful. True, the show went so downhill after that point, yeah. The thing is like, when you have the Light and L sequences at the start, they do such a great job of, like, doing all sorts of things. Like, Light losing his memories is wild. It's such a crazy scheme to just make things crazy and just have L not figure this whole thing out. The ending was also super scuffed as well. It just wasn't the same for L. That's the problem, is, like, if they had hinted about Nier and Mello, I think it's Nier and Mello, maybe, but they don't. They just kind of show up, and it's like, oh, we're not done after Light kills L? Huh? Really? Okay. And then, you know, of course, Nier ends up winning because, I mean, it takes the combined efforts of Mello and Nier to beat Light, which is kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, Light loses and then gets shot by Matsuda, and then he runs away, and then he dies on the stairways between heaven and hell, because that's his whole shtick, is he used the Death Note and he can never go anywhere. I think there's a lot of great symbolism in this show. Like, I think back on it and I'm like, man, there's so much good stuff, but they should have just ended it with when L died. That's like the biggest problem that I have with this show. That's why I say I want to rewatch it to a certain point, because it's my one thing where it's like the rest of the show was so good. Gotta have the downfall of the megalomaniac, though. Yeah, that's true. But it would just be so interesting if Light was the one that just won. I mean, he did win, but like, if he just stayed as the winner and just stayed as Kira and no one was able to figure it out, it'd be so cool. I think it would just be super interesting. And that's the thing is, it's like, I do think that this anime is really good, especially if you want someone to like understand that like not all anime is just about battling. Like if you think about like when you think anime, I'm sure people go to Dragon Ball, they go to Naruto, they go to One Piece, they go to maybe Fullmetal Alchemist Brother, like people who aren't into anime. And like this one is like, it's a battle anime that is more so of the psychological level than it is the physical one. And I think that's what is really interesting. I think that's what makes the show a lot more interesting. It's just they kind of mess it up at a point. I can't give this show like a perfect score. I think it's still pretty good overall. It's just, man, those last like 10 episodes, they're harder to watch. They're way harder to watch. But yeah, so I think Death Note is still overall pretty good. That's just my opinion on it. I could be kind of completely wrong, but yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that y'all want to talk about with this? That's really the main thing that I wanted to talk about it, because it's like, I think it's great in the fact that it is a non-battle battle shonen. It's a good starter one to show people that like not all anime is just about fighting and stuff. With that, I will show you my score. My rating is probably a little higher than y'all's. It's not anything crazy, but like, it's a good starter, but don't demand people finish it if they don't like it after the first couple of episodes. Yeah, that's totally fair. I think you can usually get hooked on it, at least in the first couple episodes, but I can see people kind of wanting to drop it. I wouldn't blame them for dropping it, but I do think it's a good starter to just kind of show that, like, yeah, not everything is just battle heavy. But my rating for it, I think it's a 7.5. I think it has its merits. It's not perfect, but I still think it does a decent job of what it's trying to do. It's rated a 5.5, and if I do my math correctly, it looks like it is a 7 is what we have. I was going to say it was a 6, but it's a 7. If y'all want me to drop it to 6, if y'all think I should drop it to 6, I'm down to drop it to a 6. 6 is good. Become YMS. Oh, true. Closer to a 6 than a 7. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you guys. I put it at 7.5. I'll move it down to a 6. I think a 6 is fair. All right, chat. So, as a little bit more of a debrief, just for those of you on YouTube, I don't know why I didn't start off with the YouTube thing, but if you guys are on YouTube, do you guys agree with my list? Do you all agree with all the different ratings that I gave it? I hope you all did. I think I did a great job. Do you agree that they were great starter animes? What would you guys add, or what would y'all change about my ratings? There's a couple other shows that I definitely wanted to recommend as like starter ones. Just wanted to keep it to a simple 5 for the first one, just to kind of see how everything ran, and then just figure out things later. So there'll be some more that show up for sure that I'll probably say I would recommend as one of your first ones. If y'all have any suggestions, leave it in the comment section below. And yeah, tell me what I got wrong about these shows. Just make sure that y'all tell me in the comments. Yell at me as much as you can. If you like this video, please send it to someone that you think would like it, and drop a like, drop a sub if you can. And yeah, stop by the Twitch the next time there's a live one, because you can vote and change my mouse specifically. So check the description down in the video, and I really appreciate all y'all for being here. And I will catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao for now. Thank you guys so much for being here. Ciao, ciao for now.